Vision, purpose, faith, gratitude, super important. If you can incorporate all of these into your day, those bits of evidence we talked about, that can create gratitude, but those are really born of faith. The thoughts that we're having that maybe we don't fully believe yet, that's born of faith. And whatever faith, nobody's dictating what you can believe. You can believe anything you want that gives you faith in the way the world operates. I mean, what's giving you faith that you're going to wake up tomorrow? Something. So whatever that is, use that in your financial world.
Your relationship with money matters. I'm Michelle Perkins, and this is the Money and You podcast, where I will be breaking down your relationship with money, offering tough love money tips, and a money dating plan that will focus on lifting the barriers to success to help pave the way for better money practices and increased wealth. It's time to take control to live a limit-free life. It starts today.
Hello, hello. Welcome to the Money and You Show. I'm Michelle Perkins, your host. Very happy to be here, and I'm bringing you a solo show today to help you unleash and let go of some of the money blocks that you might have. I'm going to get straight to the point here. I am going to talk about some thoughts, some words, and a little bit of sort of strategy around this. And so I really hope this helps. I know this is a topic that is intriguing to people and that people need, because I have conversations all the time with people, and just out of the clear blue, somebody sitting next to me will start talking and they will just start sharing their stories, their thoughts about money, their background with money, what happened when they were growing up and why they're afraid to do certain things. Everybody has a level of awareness of some of these blocks, but because there's not much opportunity to talk about it, who are you going to talk about it with, really? And people aren't typically asking you these questions, it doesn't come up that much. And when it does, like, the floodgates open and you start developing this really deep awareness of what is stopping you. That said, you almost never stop peeling back layers. I feel like I've done this for a long time. I know others who've done it for a long time. And yet, with every new book, with every new coach or mentor, with every a new conversation that you have around this, something new is revealed. So to me, this is a topic that you're never going to fully learn. I mean, you're not going to be done with it. So people ask me, well, when will my money mindset change so that it's a new mindset? And that's the new mindset forever. And I don't think that actually happens. I think we're such habitual people that we have to really work on things, and probably forever. And there's always more. The interesting part really is that there's always more to know about yourself, about money, and how your relationship with money is, how it was, how it is, how it could be. And that's what we're really focused on here, regardless of what's happened in the past, regardless of what your background is, regardless of what you've thought in the past, what you've done in the past, what you've experienced in the past. None of it, I mean, it matters. I'm not going to say none of it matters, but none of it is truly a block to where you can go. So that's a beautiful thing. We have to remember that. We have to remember that no matter where you've been and no matter what you've been through, there can be a new future ahead. And it takes new thinking and new beliefs more than anything else, more than more information, more education around money. Because as we talk about a lot on this show, that's great. We need practical knowledge. We need information. We need to study up on how to be smart with managing our money or investing our money or whatever it is that we need or that we're lacking in terms of financial literacy. But that's sort of the second piece, and frankly, the easier piece. The harder piece is getting to know yourself and what you might be doing that could be slowing you down, keeping you stuck, making it harder for you. And we all do it. So that's not anything to be ashamed of. If you are part of the reason that you might be blocked, that's just interesting information. I wish people could go into these kinds of things with no judgment toward themselves and no shame, and just this idea of, I'm curious. That's an interesting thing that I'm finding out about myself. Let me see what I can do about that. Just keep the emotional aspect of it kind of neutral. Because when we get all into a spin about how bad we've been with money in the past, how many mistakes we've made, all of that, it does not, that is in a way taking all your attention and putting it on mistakes, taking all your attention and putting it on, whatever lack there was, whatever struggles you had. And I'm not saying never think about it, because there's this psychological aspect of understanding yourself and being aware and knowing where you've been and using that information. And I think that's important too. But I don't think we can just stay there kind of in the past or in these negative thoughts or in this lack mentality. So it is information, it's good information, but let's get really curious about what we can do to move forward. That's what I always really like about coaching too. Coaching is very much of a forward-thinking kind of, endeavor, whereas sometimes therapy, as much as I love it, I've had a lot of it, it can sometimes be, for my taste, a little too much in the past. There's, like I said, it's valuable, but let's go forward. That's what we want to do with our money, right? The past is the past. Nothing we can do about that, but we can go forward. So I want to bring your attention to three aspects of this. We're going to keep it short today because I really want you to not sort of get too much information so that you get overwhelmed. I want you to think about three areas: your thoughts, your words, and a little bit about tactics and strategy. So this really, I wasn't even planning to do this today, but what prompted this was I saw, I get emails from Abraham Hicks, and there's a quote. I get a quote every day, and they're all about manifestation. And so I got this quote, and it was about health. It wasn't about money. And it said something like this. I'm going to read it. It is not attention to lack of wellness that makes you sick. It's attention to the lack of many things. Chronic attention to unwanted things holds you in a place of disallowing your physical well-being, as well as disallowing the solutions to other things you are focused upon. If you would focus your attention on the experience of physical well-being as much as you focus upon the absence of it, not only would your recovery come quickly, but maintaining your physical well-being and balance would also be easy. Kind of mangled that last sentence there. Point being, all I could think of when I read this is money. Focusing on your lack of money. Chronic attention to unwanted things like feeling broke, or not feeling like you can get the job that is going to pay what you need, not feeling like your business is going to be able to do what it needs to do to take you to that goal that you have. Chronic attention to unwanted things holds you in a place of disallowing your physical well-being. And I think oftentimes what we do with money is we disallow it into our life. And we do this without wanting to, we do it without meaning to, but we still do it. And some of the key things are your thoughts. So that's what this is talking about, your thoughts. What are you thinking about money? And how aware can you be? I was with a friend this weekend, and she was talking about buying a new house, and she's older. Like, it's almost time to be like downsizing, not upsizing, if that's a word. But that's what they're doing for particular reasons. And it was very uncomfortable for her. It just felt like, this isn't the way, I'm not following the rules here. I'm getting to a certain age where you go smaller, and I'm going bigger, and this is weird, and I don't know if I can afford it. And there were a lot of things that came out of this conversation, but she kept repeating it. So her thoughts were locked into, this is going to be too much for me. I don't need this much house. I don't know if I can afford this much house. The reality is, when you break down, and she hadn't broken down the numbers. She kept saying, I have to do the numbers. I have to do the numbers. And then she was talking about all the things that she'd been spending money on that were going away, helping kids out, helping a grandchild out, things like that. So dollar-wise, financially, she probably will be able to do it. I'm quite sure she will be able to do it. They know where the down payment for the house is coming. They have a house to sell. There were a lot of factors there that just made it clear that the real issue here was not her financial situation. It was all right here, the thoughts she was having. And those thoughts are so crucial. Thinking that we shouldn't be doing something, that we can't do something, will create that reality for you. And you can question that, but you can also read more about some of the greatest, wealthiest people, from the early 1900s. They were saying these same things. And there really is something to believing. And if you know wealthy people, most wealthy people don't spend that much time talking about what they don't have. Now, you can say, well, that's because they're wealthy. But that has been the driver for most of them, not thinking that way, not thinking I can't, I shouldn't. Going for it, finding the ways to do it, getting curious about, well, maybe it sounds like a big thing, a big goal, but how could I make that work for me? The questions you ask, the thoughts, so important. I can't even begin to emphasize that. Your thoughts is to be super aware of what your thoughts are. So you really have to be tracking them in your own brain. You have to be your own little experiment with yourself and really noticing how often do I have these negative money thoughts. Another thing that's really interesting with people is they think that rich people or greedy people are the ones obsessing about money. The reality there is, yes, they do think about money. I mean, they're earning money and they're excited to earn money, and they usually feel pretty, jazzed about earning money. So they do think about it. But it's the way they think about it. And I wouldn't say they obsess more than people who are struggling. People who are struggling, in my opinion, seriously obsess around money because they're afraid. They don't know what tomorrow looks like. They are constantly trying to prepare themselves to, ward off any potential financial problems, or they're dealing with financial problems. That's where true obsession, that can be kind of a negative, is really showing up. And in that environment in your mind, that's where the really negative stuff is coming in. How am I going to survive this? How am I going to retire? My future looks terrible. How am I going to send my kids through college? A lot of negative stuff based on evidence. Okay. The evidence is the other really interesting part. I hadn't really planned to go there. The evidence, you can find evidence for negative financial situations. You can look at your bank balance and see that there's $5 in there. You can look at your investment account and see that you're not even close to what you needed for retirement. You can look at your salary and just focus on all the taxes that are taken out. That is one bit of evidence that you can find. We can always find evidence for negative things, but we do, it's an automatic. We find it. That's our proof. That's our proof that we're not going to make it, that it's not going to get better for us, or that it's never been good, or whatever. If you flip the script here and you start thinking thoughts that are more positive, that are more hopeful, that are more abundant, whatever that might be. It doesn't have to be big. It can be big, it can be small, it can be whatever. It's just a more open-minded, this can happen for me. I'm believing that I can do better, that I can get that next job. I can get those next customers, whatever it is. You do that, and then you take the action. This is actually from The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles. Find the evidence. Spend your time not finding evidence for what's wrong or what could go wrong or what's, ruining your life. Find evidence, small evidence, if that's what it takes, for what can go right, what is going right, what just happened. I just got a call from somebody who wants to work with me. I totally didn't expect that. Somebody referred somebody to me. Whatever it is, there is always evidence for the good stuff as well. But we spend so little time looking for it, and we spend so little time putting our attention on that. It's like, have you ever been outside? I'm a bird freak. Have you ever just sat out there and go, wow, there are no birds? And then you start looking for birds and you're like, where are the birds? And all of a sudden there's a bird. And then where you saw that bird, there's like 5 other birds in the same tree. And you just start seeing them. And it's the same as this. Start looking for that evidence in every day. If you could write down where you saw some evidence that there is some abundance going on for you. Doesn't have to be that your bank account suddenly is doubled, but it can be some aspect of an abundant life because it's all connected. Good feeling is very much what is necessary to manifest what you want. We're not going to fully go there today, but all right. So we talked a little about putting your attention on what you want, not what you don't want. So always be checking yourself. Focus on what I want. When you're sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, I have a stack of bills this high and not enough money to pay them. Focus on what you want. I want to pay the 3 most important ones today, and I will. Switch it, do it. That's evidence right there. After you pay those bills, there's some evidence that you're okay. You were able to do what you said you were going to do. Think of the positive thought, find evidence throughout the day. Make sure you focus on that as much as you focus on the other stuff, or stop focusing on the other stuff. All right, words. Thoughts were number 1, words number 2. We say a lot of really terrible things to ourselves about money. We say a lot of terrible things to other people about money. I mean, my friend telling me how much she couldn't afford this house as she was going to look at open houses and meet with her realtor. Those words, A, not true, B, not helpful. B was more important than A. We don't want to put ourselves in a position where we're always talking about how broke we are. We're always talking about what we can't afford. We're always talking about what we can't do, how we can't grow, how it's for other people and why, how the economy is tanking and so we're screwed. Whatever it is, just notice your thoughts, notice what's coming out of your mouth. Very important to not put that out there, to not experience yourself saying these words, because words and thoughts obviously are super connected. So sometimes a thought leads to words. Sometimes words actually will, reinforce a thought. So even if you want to, because maybe it makes you feel better, maybe you're with people who commiserate with you. They're also broke and they're struggling. And so talking about it feels like, feels like a hug. It feels like, yeah, we're all in this together. It's not helping anybody. I mean, it really isn't. And so I remember back in my corporate days too, when I would complain a lot at work, and I would sit with my coworkers and they would complain a lot at work. And it'd be like, okay, you go and complain for 30 minutes about the boss or the promotion you didn't get or whatever. And then I'll go and I'll complain about what I've been seeing out there. And honestly, when I look back, it's like, wow, was I even an adult? I mean, I was, but what was I doing? A, I could have been working instead of complaining and getting out of there earlier. Or B, I could have been visioning something better, going after something better. Instead, I was just like mired in this complaint fest. And it was super common. Everybody was doing it. So you felt like part of the crowd. You didn't want to feel like the one person who was like super, loving it when everybody else was hating it. Anyway, it's not even worth going into, but I look back on that kind of with fascination, because all the words coming out of my mouth at that time were very negative about where I was working. So was it a surprise if I didn't get a promotion? I doubt it. I just didn't know enough about how the universe worked and how manifestation worked back then. I didn't know anything about it. So words. Okay. One little tip on that one. A lot of times we can't afford things. I mean, I'd like to go sail around the world, for the next year, but I can't really do that right now. I had heard, I think it was maybe Lisa Nichols talking about this. It could have been somebody else. Never say I can't afford something. That just puts that out there that you can't afford something. Not helpful, not good thoughts, not good words. What you can say, however, because there is a reality, there are things we can't do, but you can always say that's not in my budget right now, or that's something I'm reserving for the future, or something that isn't saying, I'm broke, I can't do things. And it is saying, at the moment, I'm making a decision to do other things. I'm going to work harder. Looking forward to the day when I can take a big trip, whatever it is. So words, super important. We have to be much more careful than we are. We tend to just kind of let it fly. And the last thing I want to bring to your attention is we block ourselves, we disallow our own financial well-being, our own financial growth, abundance, expansion, whatever it is that you want to use as a word. Those are all good words, by the way. This is something we do by, well, in a few ways, including not having a very clear vision of where we want to go. One of the big things to come out of the science of getting rich is the importance of having a vision of where you want to be, what you want your life to look like, what are you living in, who are you living with, what are you wearing, what are you doing, what's work look like, all of those things. And then purpose. What is the purpose of what your vision is? There's a vision, there's a reason, a why behind that vision. And then there's faith and gratitude. These are sort of 4 takeaways from the science of getting rich, and from probably every other type of similar book. Vision, purpose, faith, gratitude, super important. If you can incorporate all of these into your day, those bits of evidence we talked about, that can create gratitude, but those are really born of faith. The thoughts that we're having that maybe we don't fully believe yet, that's born of faith. And whatever faith, nobody's dictating what you can believe. You can believe anything you want that gives you faith in the way the world operates. I mean, what's giving you faith that you're going to wake up tomorrow? Something. So whatever that is, use that in your financial world. Purpose drives us, that why. So vision, purpose, faith, gratitude, work those 4 things on a regular basis. But here's what can happen. We have ideas that come of that. We're creative beings. So, when we're developing this vision, which is a very creative process, sometimes almost difficult, really. So you have to kind of let your creativity out to create a vision. And when you do, this is where our brains go because we're conditioned. So we have our vision, we see ourselves on the beach, on our balcony, looking out at the ocean, whatever our vision is, or we're out there helping people. We're teaching thousands of kids. I don't know, whatever your vision is. Then we understand why we're doing it. Then we go into a different place. We go into, but how? How could I make that vision happen? How can I make, whatever it is that I want? I'm here. That vision is way out there. So how? The next step is trying to force yourself into kind of a strategic role. I need to figure out what I need to do. I need to know what steps I need to take. I need to know who's going to help me. I need to know how I'm going to do this, what money I need, blah, blah, blah. That can trip you up. Danielle Laporte, another author that I love, she wrote The Desire Map. She used to always say, create your vision. Do not think about the how. The vision is the important thing. Putting it out there. That's what vision boards are about. That's what vision statements are about. Putting something out there that you can't actually conceive of right now, but it's what you want. And so putting it out there is super important. When you get into the how, you can stop yourself. You can actually start disallowing the whole thing. And I see this a lot with people I'm working with. This is what I want, but there's no way I can do it. I would never know how to do that. It actually, sometimes the actual word how is used in the conversation. Other times people just slow themselves down. Maybe there's a whole marketing machine that has to happen behind, to drive an idea that you have, and you start doing it, but you're thinking, I don't know how to market this. I don't know what I'm doing with marketing. So there are a number of ways that you can fix the problem. We're not going to get into how to fix that how problem right now, but don't let the how get you so tangled up that you get paralyzed. There is an answer to the how, or don't let the how get you so tangled up that you drop your vision, because you're like, don't know how. So that vision's not going to happen. you can't go there. Those are the thoughts that will trip you up, and then that will take you into a place where you won't do what is necessary to do, but also you won't just allow in what is flowing into you via whatever you believe in to help you to bring about this vision that you have for yourself, because you will be helped. You will be helped along the way if you think about these things, if you think the right thoughts, if you use the right words, if you don't get stuck on the how am I going to do it, if you have the faith, if you continually use gratitude. Gratitude is just a practice that will continue to help you through this all the time, because the more we talked about good feeling, the more you feel gratitude for certain things, the better you feel, and the more you are allowing in these good moments, these good events, whatever it is, the more evidence you're able to find. It's all very tied together. So I'm not saying you never need to use a strategy. You never need to find the tactics to help you do things. But believing that this can happen, even believing that you can pull off the how at some point, because you will. You'll either find people to help you, you'll change the direction. There are many, many ways to tackle things. And sometimes we get very stuck on the fact that we might not know what that is or how to do it. So focus on the vision, allow the ways that will come to you for the how, but don't focus on the how, because that will put up some sort of a block, an inner block in your mind, and you'll travel down that path, and that's not going to help you. So that is one reason why people hire other sort of visionary folks to mentor them, to help them, to guide them, because then they don't get stuck in this how, or they have other people that they can brainstorm with, other people with resources. Typically, these people who do really big things, they didn't know the how. They just knew they wanted to do something. They wanted to do something big. I recently had a show on with Damian Lupo. He was a really inspiring guest. And he has a company called Frame Tech that was, it's a relatively new vision. He's had a lot of companies, he's had a lot of wealth, he's had a lot of downturns. And it was really interesting because he just had a vision for a way to solve a problem. He had no idea how he was going to pull this off. And this is the case with most people who create things. I'm sure, I doubt that Steve Jobs or Jeff Bezos had all the hows worked out for themselves, but it didn't stop their vision. And their thoughts clearly were taking them toward that vision. And the words they used, you didn't hear them out in the press talking about how hard this was going to be and they weren't sure they were going to be able to do it. You can use this too. So you don't have to be one of these ultra wealthy people doing amazing things to be able to adopt the same practices, to be able to adopt the same ways of being. So I hope this helps. It really is powerful. And I think very quickly you'll see it if you start incorporating really all of it in your life. It's not that hard to do. It's free. You can do it. And you can read more about it. So if you've never read The Science of Getting Rich, it's dated. The language is all geared toward men, but it has some real powerful stuff in there, and it will reiterate what I'm talking about. Well, so will almost every leading personal development / money mindset person. So super, super interesting stuff to me. I just can't get enough of it. And I feel like this is the key to building your relationship with money. Knowing a lot, great. We need to do that too. That doesn't build a relationship. That builds information that you tuck away in your brain and hope that someday you'll be able to use. That's the problem with that, is we want someday to be now. And that's dependent on your mindset and your relationship with money, because you can start today. Thank you so much for listening. I love having you listen to the show. You can find us on all the podcast platforms. You can find us on the Limit Free Life YouTube channel, on Roku, on UBN Go. Thank you, UBN Go, for broadcasting these shows. We so appreciate it. And yeah, we're here every Monday. We would love for you to give us a review, a rating, share the show with your friends, really trying to get it out there. And have a fabulous guest coming. I don't know when she's scheduled, but she wrote a book also on all of these money beliefs. She's a financial advisor, but she wrote a book on the money beliefs that people come to, and it's a fictional book. So it's like fictional people with fictional stories about their money beliefs and how they impacted them. Her name's Amy Cook. She'll be coming on, and it'll be really interesting. So thank you so much again, and we'll see you next week.